Hi from Handmade by Circle Art Designs. This is Kathryn here. I'm so glad to see you. Today on my work table, we will be working on upcycling an Art Deco pendant. This is one that came as a pair of earrings, and I love this pendant. We will be using some of the beads from the March Bargain Bead Box, as well as from other bargain bead box that I have in my stash. So let's turn our eyes to the work table and get started. Well, as always, when I turn my eyes to my work table, I have something that reminds me to be grateful for the gifts that I have been given. And today on my mat, my Simply Grateful mat, that I'm still trying to figure out how to get framed in properly, but that's okay. I am reminded simply to be grateful for the small gifts as well as the large. If you saw the post on the community board, I showed you that my Japanese plum has started receiving its leaves, and they're turning this lovely plum color. Oh, if you didn't see it, go and look it up. It's gorgeous. And as I sat down this morning to start editing this video, I looked out my bay window, and like overnight, my rose bush has leaves on it, big, beautiful leaves. I am truly grateful for the changing of the season. So, as you look around, what gift are you simply grateful for today? All right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, let's see if I can find the center of this mat. I've pulled it up a little bit, and I think that's the center. Now, for this project, I will be using a necklace board, so you won't see much of this except when I'm showing you what I'm using. And I have this beautiful little tray to put these on. Isn't that gorgeous? I just love it. Now then, these are all the things that I set out at once that I thought I might want to use. And the first thing is from the March Bargain Bead Box. Let's see if you can read this. It is 8mm Crackle Glass Beads in what they call a honeydew. And these are just beautiful little beads. They are so pretty. And I have to tell you, when I first look at March and they're all in greens, I thought, what am I going to do with this? But then I remembered, don't panic. You have a bead stash. It was a bargain bead box stash that you could pull from. So back in February, I got this 8mm rose quartz round beads, and we will also be using that. That's the same size as the greens that we have. And then from back last year, I didn't mark it, are the 4mm crystal matte faceted bicones. And then we have this beautiful, beautiful Art Deco pendant. Now this did come as a pair of earrings, but they're bigger than I would ever use. Then we also have here in the 6mm, in the 8mm, these are rhinestone rondelles. I picked these up at Amazon. If I find the link for them, I'll get them and put it in the description. And up in the very top, you see some blue beads that I forgot to show you. These again are from the Bargain Bead Box. They're 8mm Malaysian jade. This is a dyed quartz and a frosty round bead called turquoise. I really like these, and for some reason when I put these in my stash, I didn't say when they came, but they were from this year. I just think this is a beautiful palette here, and we're going to do a strung necklace. So we're going to need some of this silver beading wire, and we're going to need 2 silver wire guards. I got the wire guards off of Amazon and I love it, but isn't that gorgeous? How pretty. Now here is how I set it up, and I'm going to get a picture. Hang on just a second. I think it will be easier to follow the different components of this if I show you the picture. So we're going to start down on the left-hand side of the picture with the first of the green components. This component will start off with those beautiful bicones. That is such a pretty color. Then we're going to add a spacer ball to them. The reason the spacer ball is going second is because following the spacer ball will be those 8mm rhinestone rondelles. And I am doing that in the same color blue as the Art Deco Pendant. So, and I want to make the hole slightly smaller for the rhinestone rondelle. So I'm going from the spacer ball, which has a small hole and will fit slightly into the rondelle, holding it in place on that round ball. So next I am putting in this gorgeous Crackle Glass bead, and that honeydew, it is so pretty. I hope that they have some on the website and you get to buy some if you haven't got them, because they are just stunning. And next I will put another one of the blue rhinestone rondelles, and then we will put in a spacer ball and we'll finish it up with that beautiful rich dark matte bicone. Now this is component 1. I am doing component 1 as the middle of my necklace. The next thing again is I will do another component 1. Once I finish with that, I'm going to go to component 2. Component 2 will consist of the blue bicone and then a spacer ball, and that is to give some consistency to the look. Then we'll do that matte frosted blue, oh, I forgot what it was. Malaysian jade, and then we'll go and we'll put a rhinestone rondelle in it, the Malaysian jade, the spacer ball, and then the bicone, and that is component 2. The next one will be followed by component 3. That will be the bicone, the spacer ball, the rose quartz, the rhinestone rondelle, the rose quartz, the spacer ball, and the bicone. Next, we'll go with the bicone again, and this is a repeat of component 1. So the way I have set this necklace up is I have a component 1, a component 1, a component 2, a component 3, and I go back to the component 1. The only difference between component 2 and component 3 are the type of beads you use in it. One of them is that quartz Malaysian jade, and the other one is the rose quartz, those beautiful, beautiful gemstones. And I think they just set off the colors in that crackle glass and that honeydew perfectly. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started, and I can show you how we're going to put this together. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put out the crimps that I need because I forgot to pull them. And again, as I said, this is the number 1 crimp from Bead Along. This is in silver, and it's a round ball crimp. You could use tubes, but I am using the round. All right, so let's see where we go from here. Oh yes, and I said we would need some of the wire guards, and I'm going to go ahead and pull out 2 of those, just like that. So we've got our crimps, we've got our wire guards. You'll need a clasp for this. I believe I'm going to go ahead and use a lobster claw. You can go ahead and pull that if you want. And so here I am going to go ahead and pull thread wire from that silver wire. And I am doing about 3 links across my table. You want to have more, or across my work mat. You want to have more than you really need for this. I could bead it on the wire itself, but I decided to go ahead and cut the beading wire that I needed. And I'm going to put a little piece of tape on it right there, because I have found in my drawer, rummaging around, I have a tendency to knock it off the spool and have a real mess. When you're cutting it with your flush cutters, make sure you keep those flush cutters straight so that it doesn't cut a little point. To start this off with now, we're going to go ahead and get, if I can get it picked up, number 1 crimp, and I'm going to put it on my wire just like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my wire guard. Wire guards are used to protect the wire from rubbing, because your jump ring or anything will go on the inside, and that wire is going up the tube, around the top, and back down the tube. So it's not really going to rub on the wire itself, or the rubbing will be minimal. And once I get it through there, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it through my crimp. And once I get it through the crimp, I'm going to make sure that they're parallel, just like that. And I'm going to pull that down or up, whichever way you're looking at it. And then we're going to use, oh, I let it go. I always have a tendency to do that. So I make sure it's straight, pull it, and then I'm going to get my crimpers. Crimpers have 2 half circles on the jaws of these crimpers. There's a large back one, and I'm putting it in the large back one right here, pulling it down so that I make sure that everything is okay. Once I've done that, try it again. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and with it in the large half circle in the back, I'm going to mash it right up against my crimp, and it forms that little M. Once I have that, I'm giving it a 4th turn, putting it in the front half circle, which is smaller, and mashing it down and give it a good sturdy jerk. If it can hold with a jerk, I don't think there's very much you could do to yank that out. So here I have added a picture of our first component. Now remember, when we were setting this up, we put the bicone, the spacer ball, and then the rhinestone rondelle. And the reason I said I did that is because I wanted to fill that hole in, to go from a big hole in the rhinestone rondelle to a smaller hole to hold it around that round bead. Well, when I did the first component, what I discovered was, even though it brought it down lower, I needed to go ahead and have something that would fit into the hole of the rhinestone rondelle, at least partially, to hold that in a smaller space. So with that in mind, we're going to flip the spacer ball and the bicones in all of the components. All right, so let's get started. So we're going to start out with the spacer ball right here, and then we're going to put on our bicone, and then the rhinestone rondelle in that beautiful blue, and then one of the Crackle Glass Beads and that honeydew. Last I looked, they did have some of these up on the website. We're going to put on another rhinestone rondelle, and then the bicone, and then a spacer ball. And one of the things that I have put out on my palette is I decided I like the look on the mat of space between the components. I'm sorry, my hands went off. But so I added some 11-0 silver seed beads. Let's go ahead and get this down on the wires. Like I said, you can cut the wire, but I like to have a longer wire when possible, so that once the necklace is made, that wire is hid. And I think I have got myself in, I think I have got this down pat, man. And I do figure it out, but right now it's not. So that's component 1. And from the previous picture, all we did was switch the switch where we put the bicones. Now then, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put on some of the 11-Os, and they are just barely out of the picture. For this, I have 7 to begin with, but I that's more space than I want. I want to give this that Art Deco structured look, but I don't want too much space. Now, if this was the wire I normally use, I would just leave the wire, but it's not. So I'm going to put on 3 of the 11-Os. The next up will go a spacer ball, and then the bicone, and then another of those rhinestone rondelles, and the green crackle glass, another rhinestone rondelle, the bicone, and it just fits perfectly in there. Make sure if you have a short and a long end on your bicones to use the long end going into the rhinestone rondelle. And then the spacer ball. And I'm going to bring this down, and that should be what it would look like. Let me get you a picture. So one of the things about Art Deco, as I tried to say earlier and had a brain lapse, is you want nice structured straight lines and curves. You want to build from the big to small and back to big again whenever possible, but those really nice straight lines and curves. And that's what we're doing here with this component. What we are doing, going from the small, then we're building the structure in the center that makes up the bicone, the rondelle, the ball, the rondelle, and the bicone. But then here, where you see this little silver part, where it has the ball, and then that straight line of the 11-Os, and then the ball again, gives it that nice Art Deco look. It was bold colors, flash, and straight lines and curves. And that's what we're doing to upcycle the pendant that we're using in this piece. All right, let's go on. So we're going to start out by putting 3 11-Os next, because we ended up with that spacer ball. So 3 of the 11-Os, and I'm pulling it off the part of the board that you can't see. I'll get this eventually. There go the 11-Os. And I'm trying to get this out of the way. Now we're going to use a spacer ball. I dumped this over earlier. I hope I don't dump it over again. And then we're going to take and we're going to put on the rose quartz. Now, with this rose quartz, as you can see, we're going to go ahead and put on a bicone. We want that blue to be carried through, but we're not following it by a rondelle. It's going to be a spacer, then it's going to be the bicone, then it's going to be the rose quartz, and now we're going to be putting on one of those rhinestone rondelle spacers, and then another rose quartz, a bicone, and the spacer ball. So with this, the rhinestone rondelle is captured between the two between the two rose quartz gemstones, and so it will hold it in place. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put on 3 more of the silver 11-O seed beads, and I'm chasing it around the back of the mat. Next time I use the mat, I'll know that isn't in. It just looks like it's in. And so this is the way this section will look. And I'll take a quick picture for you to refer to. So here's a picture of component 1 and component 2, and you can see that beautiful structure that's going on there. And now we'll go ahead and we'll move on to component 3. Now we've gone ahead and put on our 3 11-0 seed beads, and we're going to pick up one of our spacer balls. And then we're going to put on, let's see if I can get this into picture. Maybe I can get this into picture. I'm going, what am I doing? Oh yeah, okay, so we're going to put on a bicone there, and then this matte blue in the Malaysian jade. I just love that dyed quartz. It's so gorgeous. A rondelle and another of the Malaysian jade in that matte blue, and then a bicone, and then followed by a spacer ball and 3 more of the 11-0 seed beads. And that completes component 3. I am looking for the little hole in that bead. And getting this out of the way before I knock it off. Yeah, I was really afraid I was going to knock that sucker back off. And so here you go. Once I've got the spacer ball on, I finally got the 11-0s where you can see them. And I'm going to go ahead and put 3 more on. And that will set us up for the component 1 in the green again. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish this. Isn't that pretty? Let me see if I can get you a picture of that. So this is the far side, and we're starting at the top where we're going to add chain later. I've got component 1 and then the 11-0s, a component 1 and the 11-0s, this 11-0 seed beads, a component 2 in the 11-0 seed beads, and a component 3 in the 11-0 seed beads. And then I am going to go ahead and finish this on around till I get to the middle of my necklace. I will be putting this on and off my board as I go to check it. And when I get to 0, I know it's time to put on my bell. And I'll see you there. But before we move on, would you please like and comment on this video? And if you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing. It really helps to get our videos out to other people and to grow our channel. And if you hit the notification button, it should let you know when something new is put up on our channel. Thank you so much. Oh, and please share. That would be amazing. Thank you, Kathryn. And with that, I'll see you when we get to the middle. And we're back. So I have gotten to 0 on my bead board. So I'm moving some things over. I really want my pendant to be green in the middle to set off that Art Deco pendant that we're upcycling. So I'm going to add about 2 inches to what I'm doing, which means it'll have to come off in the chain. So I've put on my 11-0s, then I've put on a spacer ball, I've put on the rhinestone rondelle, then the beautiful crackle glass in that honeydew green, and a oh, there we go. I was going, what am I doing, Kathryn? And then another rhinestone rondelle. And then I am going to put this down and see where I want it to be, just above the 0. Okay. Now then, for the next thing I'm going to need to do, I'm going to need to put some little 11-0s on. I do not need a spacer ball because it would just go through my the little bell. And I'm using a small bell. I don't want a long, elongated bell with the pretty filigree on it. It just wouldn't look right for this type of necklace, at least in my opinion. If you like it, that's great. You know, everybody is different and there's no right or wrong. But now that I've got on my beads, I'm going to go ahead and pick up and put on my bell. And you do want 11 O's, either do 3 or 4, because you want that bell to ride on your beads there, not on your wire. That will cause it to fray faster than necessary. So after I've done that, I'm going to go right back and I'm putting on a bicone and then the rondelle and then the crackle and a rondelle and the bicone. And this time I am putting on, after I throw one away, on a spacer ball, because we started with a spacer ball on the other side. We're going to end with a spacer ball on this side. And that then builds the complete one side and the center of your necklace, and that beautiful that beautiful pendant is going to hang right off that bell. So now I'm going to leave you again and finish this up till I get ready on the other side. And we're back. I finished this up. It's all the way where I want it to be. My bell is on the 0, and it's time for us to go ahead and use our crimp and our wire guard for the next side. So let's put on the crimp. And I've really got more wire here than I'm going to need, but I'll cut it off and I'll save it for a bracelet. So we put on the wire guard, and then we're going to bring it down here to where it is. And I'm going to see how much of this I need. And I'm going to just take it. See how much I have? I have enough for a bracelet. So I'll put that in my stash to use another day. And I'm going to go ahead and put on my wire guard. It goes up the tube, around the top, going around the top. There you go. And then we're going to bring it down through the crimp, and we're going to bring it down through that spacer ball there on this side. So let's see if we can't get it to the wires to stay parallel to make sure that they don't cross. And then we're going to go ahead and put it through that spacer ball as well, if I can get it there. And I have to get my pliers. I'm going to use my chain nose pliers for this. The second side for me is always just a little harder than the first side. I am not really sure why, but it is. And I dropped it, so I'm going to have to back it off here and straighten it out again to make sure it's parallel. I have, especially in the beginning, I had made bracelet and necklaces that I really, really loved, and I didn't mess with getting the wires parallel. And I cut the wire. I crimped it. I cut the wire off. I gave it a little tug, and the end fell off. Talk about sad sack. I was a sad sack. All right. So now that I've got them straight, I know it's going through there properly. I'm putting this through that, at least through the spacer ball there. And now I'm going to crimp it. Oh, I don't have it quite tight enough. Now remember, if you've watched me before, when you're tightening these, make sure that they're tight enough that you can, you don't have extra space there, but not, I guess I should say taut. It should be taut, but not tight. If you wiggle this and it's stiff, you've pulled your wire too tight. So just back it off, and it only has to be a couple of centimeters to give it the movement that it needs. Now, once I have got that where I want it, and there's no chance of it crossing because I've got it through my beads, I laid it down, I got my crimpers, and just like the other side, go in the back and crimp. Make sure that it makes that pretty little M. Go a fourth a turn and crimp in the front and close that M up, and you've got it. And always give it a tug. It's better, even if you've made a mistake, to have to restring it at this point than to put it on and have them fall all over the floor somewhere. So always give it a tug. Then I used my flush cutters, and I cut it right up against the bead it came out of. And this is the finished necklace. Now that would be beautiful. If you don't have a pendant to go on this necklace would be gorgeous just like it is. It's 24 inches. You can put on a lobster claw clasp, but it is done. But I want to add some chain. So I've laid this out. Isn't that pretty? Now, if you decide that you don't want to put a bell on this, then don't put the bell in the middle. Just go ahead and carry the pattern on up. But I want to put the bell on, and I want to add a little chain. So I'm going to take some of my oval jump rings, if I can get them out there. There's one. And I'm just going to open this up between two chain nose pliers and put my necklace, my bell on that's on my necklace and my pendant, and close it right up. So let's go ahead and do that. Here is my chain nose pliers. For me, I always have to use one that has grip, because so little teeth on it. I just have to be very careful because my hands shake and I need grip at least on one side, or I end up scarring it anyway, causing it to slide off. So I put on the pendant. I put on the necklace, then I put on the pendant, and now I'm going to close it up with a twist of one side. Don't twist both sides like you were doing a figure eight. Hold one steady and twist the other side. Then feel the top where it splits. And if it's rough, that means it's not really closed. If you have to get magnifiers and see why it's not really closed, do it. Because at this point, if it's rough, not only will it hurt your skin and cause trouble with your clothes, but it will come open on you. And that's another reason why you don't do the figure eight. You can do a little rocking motion, and you see me doing that sometimes on one side, but never a figure eight. It weakens the metal, and it's more likely to come loose or break on you. And as I said, right there, that is finished. Isn't that pretty? I love this. And, you know, if I was making this for the shop, I would definitely finish it right there. But I've made this for myself because the earrings, these are antique earrings that my daughter bought for me. They're clips, but even as a clip, they were too heavy. So I am making this piece to share with you so that you know how to do these beautiful Art Deco pieces, but also so that I will wear this gift that my daughter has given me. I love this kind of thing. So I've measured it out, and I've decided that I want to do 4 inches on each side. Now the chain I am pulling out is a chain I bought from Fire Mountain. And if you need chain, there are all kinds of chains available on Fire Mountain. And they run specials a lot of the time, chain specials. So just keep an eye out there. And when they run a special, stock up on some beautiful pieces. They have gold, silver, copper, and it's really nice. Really, really nice. Now I'm going to take this. This one has a large oval and then a small round. And I opened up the small round. I'm going to take that off, and that gives me that chain right there to use. Then I'm going to measure up against the chain I just cut, and I'm going to do the same thing and have another piece cut for this necklace. So let's get this out here just like that. I could do a complete piece. Instead of 4 inches, I could do 8 and just put it over the head. But I want to be able to make the necklace longer or shorter depending on where the neckline is on the blouse or dress. I wear it with. So I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 separate pieces. This piece gave me a little trouble, I won't lie. But eventually I got it open. So I'm going to skip the little trouble and I'll meet you in just a minute. So here we are. And we've got this measured out, and it finally gave up its little clasp so I could take it off. And there it is. I'm going, you thing, you. And then here we go. And I have got 2 4-inch pieces. Now yours will differ if you decide to use chain and make it longer. But, and the other thing is I went ahead and pulled out a extender, but I am not going to use this. I decided this necklace was long enough that I wasn't going to need an extender, because at the most I was going to raise or lower it 1 inch. So I didn't really need one. I've opened my jump ring, I've put on my necklace, and I put on the extender, and I'm going to close it up. And in a moment you'll see me think, what am I doing? But it's only whenever I realize, wait a minute, I was going to put chain on first. I am making this longer. So yes, at this time of the day, whenever I'm working, the brain decides to kick out sometimes. And I go, oh yeah, that wasn't what I was going to do at all. Do you ever have days like that? I know I do. All right. In fact, I have a lot of days like that. But anyway, by the time you do house and you do outside the house and you get to work on filming this, and then you have to edit it, and then I just go, now what was I doing? But I've opened up the jump ring. I'm going to go ahead and put on my necklace. Then I'm going to put the chain on to extend the necklace. And I'm going to close this up. And one of the reasons why I went ahead and used the oval jump rings for this, I could have just opened that up, but sometimes I can't get it close enough that it doesn't have a rough spot. So I'm using the oval jump ring for it. And I used oval because the links here are oval, and I wanted a cohesive look to it. So now I'm straightening it out to make sure it's not going to be turned. And now I will go ahead with another oval jump ring, and I will put on my lobster claw clasp. I am not using the extender for this because I don't really think it's necessary. Like I said, since it's for me, if I was going to put it in the shop, I'd put an extender so that the necklace would hang even. But for me, I'm never going to make this any shorter than about 1 inch where my necklines change. And so it's just not necessary. I opened it up with a twist of one wrist. I put on my lobster claw clasp. And I'm going to clasp this right into that large oval link in that chain. And that is the finished product. It is so pretty. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? And I love this plate. I'm so glad I found it. I'll try to use it more often, even if it does have a shine. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you had fun learning how to do this and a little bit about Art Deco. And look when you're out in your thrift stores, in your antique stores, and see what they have there. They have some beautiful old pieces that just need a little bit of love and reworking, and they will be gorgeous for yourself or anyone else. Now let's show some pictures. Again, thank you so very much for joining me today. Isn't that a beautiful, beautiful piece? I just love it, and I'm going to enjoy wearing it. Look around in your own stash. Look around in maybe some of your jewelry. Maybe you have pieces that you cherish from other people, but you don't feel like you can wear them yourself. Maybe there's a way you can rework them and honor their memory and take a piece of their love for you wherever you go. I hope you have an amazing, amazing beading adventure this week of your own. I'm sorry I missed Tuesday. I had misstepped and I really hurt both of my hips. and sitting in a chair was just more than I thought I could handle. But I'm doing better. And so I hope you have an amazing and blessed weekend, and I will see you next week. God bless you. Kathryn, handmade by Circle Art Designs. Bye, y'all.